Hello, good evening. Well, welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. A little bit of a focus on non-league tonight as we preview the Northern Premier League East playoff final between Emley and Bradford Park Avenue. The season has been a very long and tiresome one, but it has thrown up a West Yorkshire Derby at the end of it. I'm Chris Bell, let's say, joined by our Bradford Park Avenue representative, Lewis Sale, and our Emley representative, Stephen Downs. How are you, gents? Well?
All good, mate. All good.
All good, yeah. Exceptionally good, yeah. Nice to talk about a good footballing team for a change.
Yes, says certainly, given that I'm wearing a Huddersfield Town shirt. Absolutely. I mean, hopefully, we may be joined by Craig Elliott at some point, and we'll also uh, put in as well Downsy's post-match interview with Richard Tracy, the Emley manager, after their win in the semi-final in midweek. Um, First things first, though, Steve, I'll start with you on this one. Um, Obviously, we talked on the Monday show about how tricky a game it was going to be against Dunstan. Obviously, they played each other up at Dunstan in last season's first three finals, in which Dunstan were victorious on this occasion. Talk us through the kind of the atmosphere before the game, during the game, and obviously after the game as well. To be fair, because I know yourself and our Halifax man Dave Floyd went across for it.
We got to the ground nice and early. And the staff were still sort of setting things up, getting ready for the fans to come in, and there was a buzz. There was a buzz definitely around the ground. You could feel it. You could feel it was a bit of a big occasion. You know, a chance to go further than what they did last season. And I think there was an air of confidence as well. You know, being at home at the fantastic media welfare ground, a chance to really, you know, show the supporters why they deserve to be, you know, in the semis. I mean, obviously they've had a bit of a sticky sort of end to the season. Obviously, the last game was a fantastic win against Newton Aycliffe 6-0, but you know, there was definitely a bit of trepidation, but definitely confidence, and glad to be at home, you know, especially after last season, having to travel up to Dunstan, you know, on a Tuesday night. You know, it's not the easiest of trips, and yeah, I think, you know, as the fans came in, there was a really good atmosphere. You know, Dunstan, I think brought down 2 or 3 coaches, which was really good to see. They went in the sort of open end. I mean, there was no segregation, but you know, they went sort of at the behind the goal in the open end, and Emley had you know, a fair few in the main stand, obviously, and behind the goal. Eventually, the crowd was 909, biggest it's been for a number of years up at Emley, which was amazing to see, and hopefully that can be beaten on Saturday. But yeah, as for the atmosphere, Chris, you know, the build up to the game was really good, and then I don't know if you want me to sort of go through the game or we'll
Go
come
on,
on to
mate.
that. Yeah, so basically it started off a bit cagey, to be honest. Like the first 20 minutes, you know, feeling each other out. There was a clear, defined style, I thought, between the two sides that was quite clear and obvious. Dunstan, you know, play out from the back. They obviously like to play the Pep style of football, get it into midfield and work through the lines, where, you know, Emley are really physical. They like to get it down the wings, get crosses into the box. They play a lot off the striker. You know, and you know, they use it very well. The football is very dynamic and very effective. So yeah, a clear 20 minutes feeling each other out, and then Lawrence Haino got the goal that ultimately decided the game, but a strike in on the keeper, who, you know, I thought was a bit poor on the night for Dunstan. You know, he's a good goalkeeper, I'm told, at this level, but palmed it out, and Lawrence Haino was there and who tapped it in, and from there, I thought for the rest of the half, Emley sort of took advantage. There could have been what I thought was a clear red card in the game, to be honest. I mean, the Dunstan lad, he sort of jumped into the Emley lad with his shoulder, and how the hell he didn't sort of break his jaw, I have no idea. I mean, you could hear the slap literally from the sidelines. Absolutely disgusting tackle.
What I will say, Downsy, is you're used to watching namby-pamby League One football at Huddersfield, so
Ah, Yes, but I've also worked in rugby league for 5 years, and I've seen a fair few punch-ups in that time. So there should have been a red card in the first half. Got into half time. I think it was clear that Dunstan had not really sort of come with a game plan, but it wasn't really working. And then the second half, I thought, Emley had, whilst they created a couple of chances, which Richard Tracy said afterwards that they should have been more clinical with. Dunstan, grabbed hold of a bit of the game and started to put a bit of pressure on with some corners, some free kicks, and it kind of a little bit. I thought a little bit back to the walls job at some points, but ultimately, Emley managed to break away, and there was one chance that Dunstan had, and honestly, if anybody's got this footage, it's the miss of the season in any division. I don't care anywhere in the world. Dunstan got down the right, crossed it in. This was in the first half, crossed it in, and the lad at the back stick. I mean, how he's not scored, I genuinely don't know. And he smashed it against the post. It redirected out into the middle of the area, and Emley managed to clear it. But got to the end of the game, Chris. Obviously, there was 5 minutes added on. I think the Emley fans were just nervous to get it over the line, really, as you would be. Everybody were checking their phones to see what Avenue and Matlock were doing. And final whistle blew, and there were just real elation. But what I liked as well was real respect between the two coaching staff at the end. It's been a long, hard season. They obviously beat us last year. We've beaten them this year. And, I think they've wished us well, by all accounts, going into Saturday's game. So a bit of a roundup there for you, Chris. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Enjoyed it, and so did Dave too. If anybody wants to check out the sort of vlog, it is on our channel. Go and take a look.
It seems appropriate, I suppose, to head to the post match then from that one. So we'll pop that on now then. So you caught up with Emley Gaffer, Richard Tracy after the game.
Right. Well, I'm here with a winning manager, Rich. Yeah. Obviously, a tough game that, but thoughts on the result? Well, first of all, the performance, and then we'll talk about what the result means.
I thought, we've run ourselves into the ground. I thought the lads gave absolutely everything. We asked them not to leave anything in the dressing room and leave it all out here, and I genuinely believe they did. I'm a bit gobsmacked, really, because I'm delighted for the lads. They've been phenomenal, and we've had a really tough time of late. And to turn in Saturday's performance that built up to tonight, I'm really proud of them.
That first 20 minutes, it was quite cagey, wasn't it? And I think both sides were feeling each other out.
Yeah, and that's always going to be the case when there's so much at stake. I think when we went to their place last year, there was nothing in the game for 90 minutes until the deflected goal. But, I think we've had a goal chalked out for offside, which, the lads are adamant they don't think that was the case. Gabs has had a chance here. I think we've had the chance. I don't think Jordan's had a save to make, really. He's picked up a couple of headers. Obviously, they missed the sitter where he's hit the post, and sometimes you think that's where you looks at, and it might be our night, and it's proved to be. And like I said, the support we get from behind the scenes to get the quality on the pitch has been relentless, and the lads' attitude tonight was relentless.
The goal, obviously, keeper parasiting, but he's there, isn't he, Lawrence?
Yeah. So for us, I mean, it's a long throw from now, but it's a really smart one. It's not one thrown in. Gabs is spare in the box. He picks him out with a 50-yard throw-in, if you like, and he turns and gets the shot away. And Dan Lawson, their keeper's a good goalkeeper, and the tough goal mouse, actually, with it being really dry, and it comes off in, and Loz is there to tap it in for 3 goals in 2 games, and he must be absolutely delighted. He's had a tough season in the sense of he's not had the football that he's really wanted, and we're just delighted he's come up trumps for us tonight.
There were a few tough challenges, put it that way, particularly in the first half. How did you see that?
I thought the one on Ellis could have gone either way, really. It was a little bit, I think he had time to pull out, so I felt it was a little bit naughty. The ref didn't feel that, and that's his call. He's there to officiate the game. But other than that, I think they were more just sort of coming together-y type tackles. But Dunstan, they'll get into the ref, and a bit of the dark arts are there in their dressing room, and that something sometimes that I think we miss, actually. That sort of know-how of how to I suppose kill a game off or to win a foul. And I think if they'd have been 1-0 up, I think you'd have probably seen them retain the ball better than we did in the later stages. But I think, my only criticism tonight, disappointment, was I felt we had situations where we could have been more threatening and we gave the ball away a bit cheap going forward. But hey, look, it's about the results and what a phenomenal result we've had.
Well, at full time, you could tell the elation, in every stand, every corner here. I mean, you just must be, compared to what it was last year.
Yeah.
The feeling that we've gone all season, done all that hard work, and then at the end, this season, we're there on Saturday.
We are, and it's at home, which is unbelievably fantastic news because obviously Bradford have gone to Matlock and got the result. It's great to have the fans back in here, and I'm confident that obviously we'll break the 1,000 mark on Saturday with it being local and Bradford. Dunstan have brought a good 100 and odd tonight. I would expect Bradford to be bringing 250, 300 maybe even more. So I'm looking forward to Saturday and Craig and Bradford coming to players on Saturday, and hopefully we can put on a performance. And the outcome will be what it is on Saturday, depending on, I just hope that on the day the best side wins and it's not, something that a referee has a control over or something like that. But yeah, we're just really, really pleased to have got through tonight.
Me speaking to you all season, yep. I know that tomorrow your head's going to be on it, innit?
Yeah,
enjoy tonight, but...
yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have to regroup on Thursday and do a bit of a recovery session. Dunstan, I think we've played them 7 times now in the 2 years we've been this level. John and his team are wonderful people. We can have a bit of crack with the lads. They're a good group, and in one breath, I'm disappointed for John. It's 3 years now, and obviously he's such a good guy. I hope that it doesn't dent their spirit, and they come back strong again next year.
A lot of respect there at the end, I thought.
Yeah, look, they're really good people. We speak from time to time.
Yeah.
With a bit of information on opposition, etc. They've been a bit of a nemesis certainly for us when we've gone up there. So we're really delighted to have swung the league position, on the last day to get them here, and I hope that I genuinely believe that getting them here has helped us get through tonight.
Just lastly, then on Bradford at the weekend, tough opposition. We've obviously, tricky games this season against them.
Two really tight games. I thought it was a tight game at their place to control a lot of ball. We got ourselves 1-0 up. They equalised, and then they really had a good go at us. And in the end, we were sort of hanging on a little bit, but then they got 2 sent off, and we were on the front foot for the last 5 minutes. And then when we came here, I thought it was a really, really tight game. Gab sniffed out a goal and we won 1-0. But when they changed and went more positive at the end, obviously seeking an equaliser, I think the reality of that was that they caused us a lot of problems. And we, like I say, defensively, we've been superb this year, and we hung in there. So we've had 2 positive results in terms of taking 4 points off them. But it counts for nothing come Saturday. It's a one-hit wonder, and, we'll prepare as best possible we can for it.
Well, look forward to seeing you Saturday.
Thank you.
And well done again tonight, man.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
There we go, Steve. That was you on roving report duty, catching up with Richard Tracy after the game. Delighted to say we can be joined now by the opposition manager for Saturday, another one of our West Yorkshire sides, Craig Elliott, the Bradford Park Avenue manager. Joined us. Thank you, Craig, for taking the time after what I'm assuming, since you sat in your car in the dark, is still any of the horse fall after training.
Yeah, we just finished training now, obviously. So, we had a good night of training and looking forward to Saturday's game.
Absolutely. Thanks, as I say, for joining us. Where to start, really? What a season it's been. It's had its ups and downs, but obviously getting into those playoff places and confirming it on the last day to then, a tremendous win away at, obviously, a side in Matlock that were heavily fancied at the start of the season and over the course of it to finish second. So, yeah, just talk us through the season overall, if you will, and how good it's been for you guys.
I think it's been a really positive season, to be honest with you. I know, obviously, some fans sometimes aren't happy with some of the losses that we had or performances, but that's just the nature of a season. You look at it over the course of the season, with stats are really impressive. We've only lost 9 league games, I think same as what Emley have. We've got 2nd best defence in league, 5th best attack, and been in contention for most of the season promotion. We've just been unlucky, and like a lot of the other teams, that red card have been so good this year. that they've set an unbelievably high standard. But if you look at the rest of the league, it's been really competitive and a really good league to be involved in, to be honest with you. So, like you said, the last few weeks in particular have been very good. We've shown that bit of consistency and got the wins. And we've given ourselves a great opportunity now on Saturday to try and achieve what we want to do at the start of the season.
Obviously, moving on to that playoff chase, Craig, I mean, fair play, made me eat my words, which were all entitled to opinions, but completely at mine, which I'm more than happy for you guys to shove it down my throat. But obviously, listen, I think it's one of those where obviously Ponty had a little bit of a dip in form, but we said, didn't we, between us all, that Avenue was getting the job done one game at a time and just tick them off a list. And also, I think people are quite easy to forget that the teams that Avenue were playing in them last 3 league games of the season, they were all just as desperate, if not more desperate, to survive as well. So just to kind of touch on those wins, especially like Bishop Auckland, who we know being relegated, but obviously that final game at Ossett where, you know, reasonably comfortable until that last 5 minutes, and we know Ponty were winning, it felt a little bit of a squeaky bum time a tiny bit.
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, like you said, the fixtures were hard at the end, but I think that's why you should always judge your team and the season at the end of the season when the league table's done. You know, I was fully aware of the fixtures that some of the teams around us had. You know, they were playing some of the teams near the top. We had some games that were winnable on paper, and I set the players a points total, and we were always on course for that. So try to just use my experience in terms of just staying calm about it. And like you said, we've been on a particularly good run in the last month. I think what cost us a little bit, and we're disappointed that we actually had a brilliant run in the first few months of the season, but we had far too many draws, and that put us under pressure, obviously, to get a few more wins. But the one thing I will say about the players, whenever they've had a sort of setback, a bad game or two or a loss, then they've always sort of responded, and that's always a good sign of a good group of lads. You know, good management, and you know, getting a response from the players, and that could never be in question all season. And like I said, they deserve all the credit. They've been a brilliant bunch, and we've got a really good chance now.
You've been there, done it, like you've mentioned, and we've all said, haven't we, across the years at Boston and Shaw Lane, etc. But how crucial has it been getting into that game just before we talk about on Tuesday with that bit of confidence, like you say, that bit of consistency, wins under your belt? And, you know, we say, don't we, in football, confidence is everything.
Well, yeah, I agree. Confidence, momentum, timing. You know, I think we've sort of timed it right. I think we've been the informed team coming into the last month of the season. I think I mentioned on before that I've done it different ways in playoffs. You know, sometimes I've been in playoffs comfortable, like Matlock were, and sometimes creeped in at the end. And there's probably no right or wrong way, but I do think momentum's big in football, and for us to come in full of confidence like this, it definitely helped. In particular, Ossett last week, which was equally as hard a game as what the Matlock game was. And the lads are full of confidence now going into what is obviously a one-off final.
So that game just before we get into Saturday, obviously against Matlock on Tuesday night, for many it's pretty unforgettable. Magnificent win against technically one of the better teams that we've seen throughout the course of the season. You know a lot of them play as well, having had it at Buxton. I know you're not on the Christmas card list down at Matlock, so a little bit sweeter maybe.
Yeah, obviously, you know, Buxton coming from here, and I went to Buxton, you know, one of their local rivals. So, but yeah, I'm used to that stuff. It don't make no difference to me. I think at the end of the day, we had a game plan. We knew how the game was going to go. We were never going to dominate possession. But for a lot of the play that they had a couple of chances first half, but actually Jack didn't have a lot to do second half, you know, and we knew that we could bring on fresh legs up front in the last sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, and maybe run and find the space, and we did that. And it's about taking your chances in these type of games, and we were the team that did it on the night. And over the course of the season, they didn't beat us and score an open play against us for all the talent they've got. So they can have not many complaints, to be honest with you, with the result.
Obviously, moving on to Saturday, and I know Downs is watching on, and I'm guessing some Emley fans will be watching. So I know you won't give any injury situations or team news, but how are you feeling going into that one on Saturday? Because it feels like it's kind of crescendoed for both teams. Obviously, Emley have come on a good run after a bit of a dip ourselves as well at Avenue. It feels like it's going to be a proper occasion, and one that I'm sure you and the lads are going to relish and just enjoy the occasion. Listen, after 90 minutes, hopefully, maybe a bit longer, Avenue might just be promoted again.
Yeah, look, I don't mind saying last 7 days we've picked up a lot of injuries, but look, that's what it is. You know, I think when you're at this stage of season, you've got a squad for a reason. the lads have been with us for most of the season, and now it gives some players some chances to come in and show what they're about. And I'm quite calm about that. I've got full trust and faith in these players to come in and show what they're about, because it's about a team, it's about lads contributing. So I think just as a group, we're just looking forward to being involved in a big game. I think all you can ask really is to take your season to the very last game of the season, make it exciting for yourself, the players, and fans, and we've done that. And may the best team win on Saturday. I've got a lot of respect for Richard's team. Emley, I think what they've done, not just season, but over the last few years, they've shown consistency, they've growth at the right pace. And they've got their own good group. When you look at it, and you look at the stats, they're pretty similar, aren't they, in terms of both teams? So there's not much between both teams, and I think on the day it's going to be fine margins that sort of decide the game.
Finally from me, Craig, just before some of your lads chip in before you can head home. A bit of a mention as well in recent weeks, month, you've seen obviously the increasing tendencies of support, especially at Ossett, and obviously that on Tuesday night. Everyone seems really excited. It seems to be a right good vibe, doesn't it, about the situation at the moment. And I know that obviously people are going to go down to the Horsefall early to kind of hopefully see you guys off. And obviously there's plans later on at night, whatever that result might be. And is that one that is, potentially just a little bit of that extra 1% that might help you get over the line?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the last month has been unbelievable, and I think the players have responded with that. The increased attendances have really put a good atmosphere into the matches. It's made the players sort of improve performance. And there's an argument, players should do that anyway, but it is hard sometimes. I remember in the winter, some of the home games, we didn't get big crowds, and it were lacking a bit of atmosphere, and it were hard maybe for some of the players to really feel motivated, especially when you're pushing in the last 10, 15 minutes. But since the club behind the scenes have made a big effort, the crowds have been absolutely brilliant. I know I definitely feel like the energy around the place and the players have, and fingers crossed they can have a big following on Saturday and do them proud, really, and repay them back for their sort of faith and they've shown us this season.
Craig, in terms of kind of the squad over the course of the season, just been able to look at the lineup starting from Tuesday night, it seems that you've been able to keep a very settled squad. I think there's only maybe 2, possibly 3 players that have kind of joined midway through the season or later. How important has that been for you as a manager and for kind of finding that consistency in terms of results and performances?
I think it just shows the main thing, we got the recruitment right, really, last summer. I worked really hard along with a few other people to get the right players in. I've said all along, it's sometimes not necessarily what you see on the pitch as well. That there need to be good characters around the place, in the dressing room, at training. And I've got to say, training throughout the season has been absolutely brilliant. They are the best group I've had as a manager. I think, obviously, I'm into my 18th season as a manager, and they've all been brilliant. So I think you live or die by your recruitment, to be honest with you, at any club, at any manager. And we got that right last summer. So, yeah, the reason they've been here all this year is because they've contributed. But not only that, they've been good people around the place.
80th minute on Tuesday night, 1 apiece. How were the emotions? And then 5 minutes later, when Ben pops up with that winning goal.
It's just great, I think obviously I've had a lot of big moments in my management career, a lot of big games, and it just sometimes just reminds you why you do it. It's a thankless task being a manager. You get so many people sort of criticising you, questioning you. It's stressful. You get your highs and your lows, but when you have nights like that last week, you've got my family there and friends, and it just makes it worthwhile, to be honest with you, all the hours you put in. And like I said, I've shown faith in these players. They've shown it back, and just really happy to see so many happy faces, really. And it's great. It's a good feeling. It's a buzz that's great, to be honest.
Good. And finally, I mean, obviously, you must be enjoying it because you've recently signed that extension to stay on for next season, come what may.
Yeah, obviously I didn't want to sort of talk about it too much, to be honest with you, because we still had a lot to play for. But obviously the club were keen to get it done. So I think, obviously, I've said on record, there are 2 things from me. Do you enjoy being around this environment? Is there good people? Yes. And is there still work to be done on the pitch? And the answer is yes, and I still feel like I can move the club forward. So whether I feel like that, it were absolutely a no-brainer for me. And like I said, hopefully I can just keep growing the club on and off the pitch.
Just 2 from me, Craig. Nice to see you, mate, and thanks very much for coming on. If you did want to give anything away, by the way, you're more than welcome to. You're more than happy to share any information, mate. Tactics, format, anything. No, I suppose just 2 from me then. One is, you know, I'm obviously involved in Emley. I see what it means to the people up there. You know how much it matters to everybody off the pitch as well, volunteers, you know, staff, and it'll be the same for you guys. And I suppose you know you've been in football quite a while now, like you say, as both a manager and a player. I mean, when you get results like Tuesday, it just makes all the other hard bits just immediately disappear, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, like I said, I think obviously anybody in non-league will tell you that it's a thankless task. You know, there's a lot of travelling, a lot of commitment, and that's from everybody: supporters, volunteers, managers, players. You know, we put a lot of hours in, and it's hard at times. But when you have moments like that, it sort of makes it all worthwhile, really, and you realise why you do it. And you've got to enjoy the moments, the good memories. You know, they don't come around often sometimes, and it's sometimes when you have them, you sort of I've moved on to the next game too quickly as a manager, and I really wanted to try and soak it in a little bit and just sort of enjoy it.
Yeah,
And I try to do that a little bit more now as I get a bit more experienced and older as a manager.
yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you heard what Richard had to say in my post match with him, but he sort of like talked about how close the games were between both Emley and Avenue this season. You know, it kind of a war of attrition type fixtures. You know, really physical and get up and go. I mean, do you see that being a similar type of affair on Saturday?
Yeah, I do, if I'm being honest. Like I said, I think you look at the stats of both teams, we're very much similar. We've had similar seasons when you look at it. But what I would say is obviously, and again, from my experience, that it's a one-off game, you know. I think whatever's happened throughout the season, the games that we've played against each other, it stands for nothing. It is literally which team sort of turns up on the day, which team sort of implements their own game plan. And also there's other things that we can't control, referees, you know, things like that. It's you just hope that the game's settled by the quality and the better team winning, really, rather than something that external that we can't control, if that makes sense.
At
Yeah,
least there's no VAR. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Let's not have any VAR decisions there. Come on.
To be fair, that's a point that Richard made as well. Look, Craig, thanks for taking your time out after training to join us. All the very best for the game on
Cheers.
Saturday, and for, on the whole, congratulations on what's been a successful season so far. And we'll see which one of the West Yorkshire sides takes that step further on Saturday.
Cheers, lads. Take care.
Cheers, Craig.
Cheers, Craig.
Right,
Thanks
bye.
a lot, mate.
Bye.
There we go. Bradford Park Avenue manager Craig Elliott. It's always fascinating to kind of get kind of your managers at this sort of level on the show.
Well, I just think, from my point of view, how good is it that obviously Lou's involved in Avenue and I've got, you know, some involvement in Emley, but, you know, they don't have to be disaccommodating, you know, to a channel like ours. And I think that's the beauty of English football at this level, that, you know, Craig's taken time out there to spend 15 minutes talking to, let's be honest, three lads on on a podcast on a Tuesday night after training. You know, he don't have to do it, but he does it because he loves the game. You know, he wants. He's obviously passionate about his job, such as what Richard is at Emley, and I think it's fantastic. And we all, you know, generally more non-league clubs get involved with us going forward. But I think it's. I was hoping for Avenue, I'll be honest, on Saturday, just because I can wind Lou up if we beat him. I'm sure he'll do the same back. But I didn't want it to be Matlock. You know, I love the underdog story and of, you know, Matlock were expected to just go up out of this league, weren't they? And they're not even in the final now. So it's the beauty of British football, isn't it?
Interesting, Lou, how as the season has gone on, he's become more and more Emley and less and less.
No, sorry. This comes from a man that supports. No, I won't go there.
No.
Says a man wearing his Huddersfield Town shirt.
Wow. Lou, just calm down. I didn't have another shirt available.
I know. Listen, it's great that Craig could join us. I mean, I were down there earlier this evening recording the club's podcast. I mean, obviously, we've done this one. And like I mentioned there, I've got to own up, like, eat my own words. You know, I was fairly opinionated in the past few months, just because we had a dip, you know, we had a bit of a dip, a bit of a rocky spell. You know, we were losing against teams that arguably you think we could beat, but there were just a bit of lack of consistency, and it just felt a little bit edgy, especially with the squad Avenue have built over the past year. You know, there's expectations there with the players that have been signed, you know, 2 or 3 from Guiseley, you know, like Marcus Carver coming in, etc. You know, I know what there was a little bit of anticipation, a little bit of apprehension rather in how Avenue were going to do, and you know, other teams were starting to pull away. Ponty picked up, Heaton Stannington were pushing a lot of teams close unexpectedly. And you know, I'll be honest, and I've said it to the guys, you know, fair play, because they've absolutely turned it around, and that is why we love football. And I've always said it, you know, we've got to be big enough, ugly enough to take it on the chin and go, you know what, sometimes we're not always right, and that's just how it is. I will give the lads plenty of credit, Craig, absolutely as well, because, you know, he's been from day one absolutely on it in terms of he's got his points total. I don't know what the points total is. He's never revealed that one yet, so we'll find out if he's hit the mark on that one probably come the end of the season. But it has been a season where Avenue, without being biased, should have been in the playoffs pretty comfortably before the final day of the season. You know, a lot of points have been dropped. 9 points in the last 10 minutes of games would see you pretty easily in the playoffs, probably in a similar position where Emley are, which could have potentially got you home advantage in the final. But end of the day, you've got to do what you got to do. You've got to beat the teams. You're going to have these results. And Avenue have peaked at the right time, albeit with actually quite a patched up squad, which you mentioned. But yeah, it's been great to have him on. And I know that obviously the lads were there this evening doing the final bits of preparation, the training, recovery, all that kind of stuff. And we know, having watched games and been involved in it from our perspective, aside from being a manager and player, that adrenaline kicks in a final. So sometimes them little knocks and little bumps and bruises will pretty quickly go away. They'll come back to bite you on the backside, probably in that second half a little bit. But listen, you can play through the pain barrier for the final, because it's not many times you get to play a game of this magnitude, really.
No, absolutely. Before we wrap up, just a couple of messages in the night that I've seen from some of the former players of both sides, and actually players in this case of both sides, like James Knowles, for example. 2 of his former clubs battling it out in the playoff final promotion. Congratulations to both clubs getting this far. Some great memories at both, and suppose on the fence for this one. Come on, pull the sprinters out, James. Pick a side. But he's wishing the best of luck to both sides. And then there was a message as well from one Jamie Price, Sackley manager.
Hi everyone, Price here. Just a quick message really, just before the game on Saturday. Good luck to both sets of teams. I've represented both clubs, loved my time at both of them, and met some really top people, and I just wish you all very, very, very best. Okay, leave nothing out there, give your all, and may the best team win. Well done, guys. Take care.
Yeah, that's current Sackley gaffer Jamie Price, and that's to say one of, to be fair, quite a few players I imagine over the fairly recent years that will have played for both sides actually as well. To be fair, that's the beauty of non-league football, certainly in our region, is players do tend to travel around and pick up spells at different clubs. Just before we wrap up, then a prediction from each of you. On the spot. Let's do this on the spot. We'll start with you, Stephen Downs.
8-0 Emley. No, I'm joking. I think it's going to be tight, and it's going to be nervy. 2-1 Emley.
It's a big prize at stake, isn't it? A place in the Northern Premier League, because let's be fair, you're step 3 of non-league football. You're only 1 below the National League North if you do get it. So you're going for, was that a 2-1 Emley win?
2-1 Emley win, yeah, but it's going to be so tight and nervy. It's not going to be good for the heart on Saturday.
And Lou, you'll be on commentary duty, I imagine, for Bradford Park Avenue.
Yeah.
Go on then, make a prediction.
Well, my first prediction is I hope I don't have my voice go like it did on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
It wasn't where your voice went that worried me, to be fair. It was where something else had disappeared to get to that voice. So
I think a different octave that's not even possibly human it can be heard by the human ears, to be fair.
You're borderline going dog hearing territory, aren't you?
It was like one of them whistles that, that dogs can hear.
Yeah.
Like, it was that high pitched.
Yeah. I think my dog in Bradford could hear me from Matlock. I I think I agree. I think it's going to be really tight. I will be very surprised if one of these teams does walk away with it and dominate this game. They are different contrasting styles of football between both teams, and this isn't being disrespectful to either whatsoever. But over the years, Emley have played to the strengths of, good set pieces, using long throws. We know they've got that in a locker with Joe Stacey and Niall Heaton, who's recently joined as well. So that has been a bit of an Achilles heel for Avenue over the years. Avenue will probably try and do a similar job, I think, to what they tried to do against Matlock. They might be able to have a bit more possession. I think they'll probably get the ball down on the deck a little bit more than Emley. But what I will say is, for me, the players to watch out for who've got a big, big effect on this game feel like, to me, like Hayden Lindley of Emley. He's outstanding. He's too good for this level. He should be probably National League North standard at least. I think he's a quality player. He just dictates everything that Emley do, and if he doesn't get on the ball enough, he will drop himself back almost as a quarterback and play as a bit more of an advanced centre-back just to get hold of the ball, and that's how good he is, and he's got the time and space on the ball. So he's one to watch out for. I think for Avenue, depending on bodies, being honest, Marcus Carver's hit 24th of the season. If you're going to be up there thereabouts, you need a striker who's going to do that. But I think depending on that midfield threat, you look at the likes of Prince Ekpolo, who's come into his own in a recent couple of months, who's been outstanding. Jamil Ibil, who's been player of the season, he's swept up all the awards. He's going to be critical to holding that back line with Mark Beavers probably against them high set pieces. I think it's going to go penalties. I do. I think it's going to go to pens. I think it's going to go
say that.
I think it's not surprised. Yeah, I mean, obviously, my head says and heart says Avenue, but I do think it's going to go all the way to penalties. And I think it'll be a shame if it does. I'll be honest, it'll be a shame if it does, because I think it'll be cruel for somebody to lose like that. And I think the extra time will be quite a slog to watch, because I think both teams will be out on the feet, because I think every ounce of effort is going to be given in that 90 minutes. But I see it going through to penalties, but I hope it doesn't.
Turner was exceptional, by the way, on Tuesday.
Quality players to Stocksbridge, yeah.
He was my man of the match. I mean, he literally ran the show. Both me and Dave picked him out as man of the match, definitely. So I'd say he's one to look out for as well, definitely.
Yeah, he's been a good player down the years at Stocksbridge, and listen, they've got some great players. They've got a lot of local talent in there. We've seen even on the bench, like Jack Boyle, who's been at Ponty this season. He's on the bench there, and Bailey Thompson, who's been at Ponty, he's been on the bench. So they've got good local lads who know each other, have got that connections, and we know with Richard Tracy and his team, that's what they build on the team spirit. Compared to, with respect, the likes of Redcar and Matlock, technically they're fine, absolutely more than suitable for this league. But what they do is they grind results out. They've got a real good team spirit and they play to their strengths, and both teams have done that to their advantage. I think at the end of the day, Avenue on Tuesday night, I could be again not getting on the side of people at Avenue, but technically in terms of football individual quality, Matlock are probably a little bit better than Avenue. The likes of Tom Elliott, Connor Washington, who's been a Northern Ireland international 2 years ago. We're talking players who've played at pretty much the highest level. And Avenue did the game plan, executed it well, like Craig said. Slight bit of S-housery, but you've got to do it to get you win, and that's how it works. And I do see a little bit of on Saturday, but yeah, I think, listen, it's one that I've already seen comments on social media that people have been really respectful of each other. It were lovely to get some comments from Emley people actually on Tuesday when I were commentating. Pleased that they're playing us. Like you mentioned yourself, Stephen, it seems to be a real good, friendly rivalry between both teams. There's a lot of respect between both teams and coaching staff and players. Very similar. So they could cancel each other out on the pitch. But what I will say is, and I think you've mentioned it, and we've all mentioned it before, and Craig has, that the amount of hours and effort that goes into any kind of non-league club to get you over the line, but especially these past few days when you both know you're in the final, everything matters come 3 o'clock. So the logistics of Emley having to set up the ground and make sure the food and drink are ready, the hospitality is ready, the stadium is fit and safe for everybody to come in, and setting the price in and making sure the car park is fine, all that kind of stuff. And Avenue are having to set the logistics in terms of travel and get the pre-match bit sorted at the Horsefall, which is what they're doing. I mean, the bits after, getting the tickets and everything that goes along with it, it takes up a lot of people's time that it's not paid, a lot of it. It's voluntary because people, like you said, Stephen, your point was spot on earlier, that people do it because they love it. And at the end of the day, this is what it means to both teams. Both teams are going to shake hands at the end of hopefully 90 minutes, not any longer. One's going to be elated, one's going to be disappointed, but that's how football works, and they'll probably give another go next season. But listen, I think it's a credit for both clubs. It's nice that 2 West Yorkshire clubs have got in there. From our perspective as a podcast and a show, and hopefully that they do put on a bit of a show for people, because I've had messages from players and managers of, previously at Avenue and across the league, and they're going to come and watch it because they know that it's probably going to be a real tough game. That, I'll be honest, I think even though you're connected with both clubs and other people looking outside in, nobody can really call it. Nobody can really call it.
No, I think
it's an extremely tough game to try to predict, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on there, Lou. I was there on Tuesday, and like I said, it's the biggest crowd that Emley's got for a number of years, and everything was just run perfectly. Like there was no problems with the food, there was no problems like at the ground. Getting in and out of the ground was fine. Like, it was just run spotlessly, and for football at this level, people think. People just turn up at the game and then they go home. But that's taken like 4 or 5 days to organise. Programs being printed, tickets like you being sold. It's not. Having worked in rugby league and like you have, we're all rugby league fans here. It's a very similar thing. Semi-pro or amateur, football. It takes a hell of a running. Does a club?
Yeah,
that it does. We will certainly see who comes out on top over the course of the weekend. You'll both be there. Enjoy it. I'll be honest, I'm quite gutted actually that I can't make it up to Emley on Saturday. It's certainly the game. If you're at a loose end on Saturday and your side is away from home, whatever, get yourself up to Emley for what will be a really good West Yorkshire Derby of a playoff final for a place in the Northern Premier League at stake. Big thank you to Craig Elliott for joining us a little bit earlier on. Thank you, as always, to Lewis Sale and to Stephen Downs as well. We will be looking back at the game, no doubt, hopefully on Monday, possibly Tuesday, because Monday's a bank holiday. So it might be Tuesday next week that our usual Monday show will be on. But we'll be looking back at it anyway at the start of next week. Until then, all the best to both teams in the final. We'll see you again soon. Take care.
Up the avenue.
Come on, Emley.